All right, this is a primer introduction to my analysis of the United States Civil War. It is only meant to be a narrow, focused introduction into some of the arguments stating that slavery was the cause for this Civil War. Right? And I want to do this first before I give you the bigger, broader picture because I think people can be lost in um, all the extra detail surrounding the Civil War. And they lose focus on the fact that the Civil War was not fought to free the slaves, even though the slaves were freed as a result of the Civil War. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through these arguments here for the Civil War was fought to free the slaves. And then we're going to show how this is just specious, fallacious thinking, right? By soft brains. Okay, so I'll show you a bunch of them. Okay, all right, so we'll start with the first one here. All right, so it says people say the slaves were freed as a result of the Civil War. Therefore, the war must have been fought to free the slaves. Right now, while it is true that the slaves were freed as a result of the Civil War, that in no way means that's the reason why the war was fought. Right? It was not fought to free the slaves. Uh, that is a complete non sequitur. It's illogical, irrational. Just because slaves were freed due to the Civil War does not, in the least, mean that's why the war was fought. Right? For example, the North did not start the war to free the slaves. The South started the war. All right, seceding and then attacking Fort Sumter. Okay, now people are going to say, well, all the southern states were clamoring, saying the North is going to free the slaves. Lincoln is going to free the slaves. All right. Uh, at that point, there was no truth to that. Absolutely no truth to that. Uh, let's see. What do I want to say? Well, what they did everything. So what happened was, when the South started making that claim, the North sought to prevent war by cutting the legs from under the South's argument for war. Right? They're saying, hey, no one's trying to free the slaves. In fact, we'll guarantee the right to slaves forever. That was the Corwin Amendment. They passed the Corwin Amendment, right? Protecting and guaranteeing the right to keep slaves. And then the House offered New Mexico territory as a slave state. That's not trying to free the slaves. That's offering more slaves. That's building slavery. All right. So why did they do that? Were they pro-slavery? No. They're trying to prevent a war. Right? They're trying to bend over backwards, appease the South. Say, listen, man, we're not trying to slaves. We'll give you everything you want. Now, both the Corwin Amendment, which protected slavery, and the New Mexico offer, which expanded slavery, right? They were intended to cut the legs from under the South's argument for secession. But the South didn't go for it, which proves that slavery was not the real issue. The South had a deeper, bigger agenda in mind. It came down to politics, which meant legislative power, which meant the fortunes, economic fortunes, right? Bust or boom, right? That's what it meant. All right, you can only understand it when I explain the big picture, but I'm just want to like blow these arguments out of the water, right? So when the southern states seceded, they claimed Lincoln was going to free the slaves. Oh, Lincoln's going to free the slaves. Lincoln's going to free the slaves. Oh no! Right? He was elected president. Right? Okay, I say seriously, right? Morons say this all the time, but they need to go back to seventh grade civics class. Right? Try to remember what you learned back in seventh grade. Right? Lincoln wasn't king. Lincoln was president. Presidents don't make law. Congress does. Right? That's a legislative body. The only legislative power the president has is veto power to block a legislative bill. All right. Now, slavery is written into our Constitution in 4 places. It's in our Constitution 4 times. Right. It's the law of the land. That's the chief law of the land. Even if it was written just once, right, in the Constitution, that would mean abolishing slavery would require an amendment to the Constitution. All right. Now, can the president do that? Right? He's not king. I mean, come on. Right? Amending the Constitution requires a two-third majority in both chambers of Congress, and then ratification by three-fourths of the states. Right? Now, in 1860, right before secession began, there were 34 states in the Union, 15 of which were Southern slave states. Right? So there are 4 more Northern free states, which is part of the political imbalance. It was the real basis for the split. That means 26 states had to ratify the amendment. That's three-fourths, right? That means only 9 out of 15 states needed to vote against it. 9 out of 15 Southern states. All right? And they were all going to vote against it. All 15 of them, right? Only 9 of them needed it. There's no way it would have passed, right? Furthermore, when the 13th Amendment really did pass on January 31st, 1865, right? And with only northern states in Congress voting at the time, right? Because the South is out, right? The South is in their Confederacy. The bill passed by only 2 votes. And that's with Lincoln buying votes by offering Cush federal jobs to lame duck congressmen. You know, for example, congressman in the 1864 election, November, right, voted out of office. Well, he's still in office until February or March, whatever. I don't know what exact thing. You know, inauguration. It's different, I think, from presidents to senators and congressmen. But anyways, it's after January 31st. What that means is, right, come inauguration, right, in a week or 2, whatever, maybe 3 weeks, they're out of a job, right? They're on the street there, out of a job. So Lincoln said, "Hey, listen, man, I know you're gonna be out of job, right? Because I'll give you give me this vote, I'll give you this Cush job. I'll give you the director of the naval base in New York City. That was one of the jobs I know Lincoln gave, right? All right." To get vote, and it only passed by 2, and that's only northern states. You think there's any chance in hell it's going to pass with the southern states? Right? That's crazy. I mean, that's insanity. There's no threat, that means, to eliminating slavery. Now, given it barely passed with only northern states, before the war, with southern states in Congress, there is 0 chance it would have passed. Right? And given the fact that such an amendment before the war would start a war, there's no way anyone in the North would introduce such a bill, knowing it will start a war, right? Especially when the North, after they seceded, saying, "Oh, they're trying to free the slaves." What did they do? They bent over backwards, doing cartwheels. Hey, listen, man, we'll give you everything you want. We'll guarantee your right to have slaves forever with the Corwin Amendment. Amendment to the Constitution guaranteeing your right, right? No change to the slavery thing, according to this amendment. All right, so and then they offered to expand slavery by saying, "Hey, take New Mexico territory," right? Now, why do they do that? To prevent a war, right? Are they trying to free the slaves? No. I mean, get that through your brain somehow. All right, my goodness, I don't understand people, right? And there was no bill in committee, right? So I mean, which makes sense. They don't want to start a war. There's no bill in committee. If there's no bill in committee, there's no bill on the floor. If there's no bill on the floor, right? There's no vote. I mean, there's no threat. I don't know how to make that simpler. Okay, so all right, so some people say here's another argument. Well, the people in the North didn't want slavery in the North. That means they wanted to eliminate slavery in the South. Right? That's another non sequitur. Right? It's like, what? The people in the North did not want slavery because that threatened themselves. That threatened their livelihoods. That threatened to take away jobs. Well, slaves would take their jobs. Why? Because you don't have to pay them. It's right. And then two, it would drive down wages. Right? Why? Because what are you competing against? You're competing against zero. Right? That drives down the market value for wages. And then it would allow the super rich slave plantation owners to come in and gobble up all the land opportunity, right? Which is what the people wanted. They wanted a chance for their own opportunity, right? The Northern Republican Party wanted people to be productive, to produce for the economy, right? And so they said, hey, we'll give you free land, right? Just produce on it. Show improvement in 5 years. And that was the Homestead Act. Right? 160 acres free, right? They want now. If slavery was allowed in the North, who had all the money to gobble up all the land? The rich slave plantation owners from the South. They were rich as kings, right? A super disparity of wealth in the South. The vast majority of people in the South were dirt poor, right? And the exception were the super wealthy, aristocracy, the slave plantation owners, who also held all the political power. All right, another thing is it would kill disposable income and so kill a consumer-based economy that would sustain the northern industrial manufacturing economy. So that was from like a business or a larger economic perspective, right? That people who had more knowledge and intelligence as far as economics, right, knew that slavery was a bad system. Right? Now, just because they didn't want slavery to come to their state didn't mean they're going to go down to some other state and then suffer hardship and then sacrifice their lives to end slavery in the South, right? They might not give a damn about the slaves down there, right? They're looking out for number one, first and foremost. You know that, right? Many were prejudiced against blacks, right? Many feared that blacks would come to the North and take their jobs like the Irish immigrants did, right? And there were even some textile factory owners in the North who were pro-slavery in the South because they wanted to keep their supply of cheap cotton. They knew that slavery provided them cheap cotton, right? Which gave them an edge, enhancing the profit margins and competing against whatever competition, like Great Britain or whatever. So here's just some brief evidence of prejudice. I mean, there's more, right? But okay, so in the North, these are all northern states: Illinois, Iowa, Indiana, Oregon, all passed laws barring blacks from entering. No blacks allowed in our state. Oh, okay. That's the representatives, right? Which are representative of the people, right? So they don't want blacks. No blacks in our. But we're gonna go down there and free you guys. Come on. You think they care about them, right? They don't want them in their state. That's craziness. Okay, so now, all right. So then Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa all denied blacks the right to vote. Right? You think they care about blacks? They don't want them to vote. Oh yeah, we'll go down there and free you. Yeah, we'll fight and die to free you, but you're not voting in our state. Don't come up here. You can't come up here, right? We'll free you, but you can't come up here. And if you do try to come up here, you can't vote. These other states passed. These states and other states. These six, seven. Whatever, seven, eight, Illinois, these 8 states all passed restrictive black codes, like the slave codes, like the codes they had in the South after slavery, the black codes, right? They got them in the North, right? Special laws restricting black people excessively, right? Yeah, and you tell me they're gonna go down and fight and die to free the slaves, right? So, yeah, not wanting slaves in the black means that they want to go down to the South and fight and die to free the slaves in the South. I mean I don't know. I don't want to make fun of people, but people believe this stuff though, and it makes you wonder. After Lincoln made his Gettysburg Address, here's just, I mean, this is kind of anecdotal, right? And I've seen some of these letters, copies of these letters, right. I mean, it's anecdotal, right? But after Lincoln made his Gettysburg Address, he was inundated with letters, whatever inundated means, how many, I don't know. He got a bunch of letters, right? From concerned parents of soldiers pleading for Lincoln to assure them that their sons were not fighting and dying to free the slaves, but fighting and dying to preserve the Union. Why? It was their Union, right? They didn't give a damn about the slaves, right? But they're concerned about the Union. Finally, in 1864 election, many Northerners believed that they could end the war now if they could reach a negotiated settlement with the South, right? Say, hey, you guys can keep your slaves, so end the war, right? In other words, they wanted to throw slaves under the bus to stop the war. Well, this is the exact situation before the war with congressmen, right? Before the war started, Northern congressmen bent over backwards, throwing slaves under the bus. We guarantee slavery forever, right? And hey, take more slave land. Take New Mexico slave land. They're expanding it and protecting it. They're throwing slavery under the bus to prevent a war. Well, that's what right? They don't want to fight a war to free the slaves. Don't tell me they fought the war to free the slaves. They're doing anything to not fight the war, to not free the slaves, right? Or it wasn't about not freeing. It was not fighting the war, and they're gonna sacrifice the slaves. Don't tell me this craziness. It's crazy insanity. But you know what? Everyone thinks that's reality because I learned it in second grade. Yeah, when I was in second grade, I learned that the Civil War was fought to free the slaves, and everyone knows that. Everyone says that. It's a common myth that all the mindless, people run around who don't think, and then run around. See, he's unreal, right? We know reality. Yeah, retarded reality, but that's, that. Okay, that's something else though. Okay, not really reality. All right. Let's see. All right, so they offered all this stuff, but the South didn't go for it. All right, what does that mean? They had bigger fish to fry. They had a bigger agenda going on here. All right, and they're not showing all their cards. They're not saying, right. I mean, I told you that the main reason for this was, right, to whip up, young dumb white boys in the South to go fight for them. Why? Because who was gonna lose in what was going on politically and economically? The rich Southern plantation owners were gonna lose big time. Their only hope, if you look at the big picture about the political situation, the demographics, right, the statehood, right, everything pointed that the writing was on the wall, and they're done forever with political power, right? Which means they're going to lose legislative power, which means they're going to lose their destinies, their economic prosperous destinies to the North. And I explained the economics of the tariff, but I can't do that here. All right. So abolitionists were, they said, okay, so the people, said, oh, yeah, but all the abolition of the North, they were a powerful driving force which caused the Civil War, right? They drove the war. Well, the South started the war for one thing, right? I mean, keep that in mind. It wasn't the North who started the war to free the South started the war, right, by seceding and by attacking Fort Sumter, right? Okay, so I said, so the abolitionists were not a big, powerful force. The abolitionist movement was tiny. It wasn't very big at all. You could say it was tiny, right? In fact, it was small and concentrated largely in northeastern religious groups. These really religious groups in like Pennsylvania and so forth. I don't know, Quakers and so forth. I was joking the other day, like Quakers and Shakers and Bellyacres. I'm just kidding. But yeah. So and what? Did these guys? Okay, so these guys were really committed against slavery because they thought it was immoral, right? It was ungodly, right? So all power to these guys. That's what I want to try to do, is do what's right before God, right? You know, so I'm saying all power to these guys, right? But did they want war? No, they were pacifists. They didn't want war to do it, but they're against it. But they're not going to want a war, right? So the Civil War was not fought for these guys. All right, so there was only one. Oh, there was only one abolitionist paper which had any significant distribution volume. Right? It wasn't a big movement. In addition, they didn't want war to free the slaves. They hoped to free slaves through legislation. Right? So they were small in number, had little political clout. Right? You know, and there were more abolitionists. So a Republican Party was the northern political power, and they wanted gradual elimination by market economic forces. So that was their plan, not by war, because they believed that slavery was an inferior industrial economic system that stultified industrial development, right? Mass manufacturing and purchasing, right? You know, I mean, of course, any idiot can see it's going to kill that, right? If you have a slave system, right? No one's got money. If you don't have money, how are you going to buy and sustain a manufacturing economy? So they didn't want war, okay? But they didn't want war. They said, okay, it'll be, you know, markets, right? And then you had big industrial financial powers were against slavery, but they didn't want war as well. Generally, they were not concerned with emancipation as a moral cause, so much as they saw how slavery, non-wage labor, was stifling the economic development in the South, preventing economic growth and industrialization, decreasing their chances of wealth generation and accumulation, right? So now there are some northern textile manufacturers who actually wanted to maintain slavery to maintain their source of cheap cotton, right? And finally, abolitionists would only have power through the representatives. And those representatives, did they want war? No! It's proven that they're doing everything to prevent war, to avoid war. They're, like I said, throwing slavery under the bus, right? Why? Because they don't want war. And that's who these abolitionists would exert the power through. I mean, they probably had little power to begin with. Who's you know, I don't know, listen to these guys, right? It's a small group, right? But, you know, our representatives didn't want war. So to say that Civil War was fought to free the slaves. What? They don't want war. They're throwing the slaves under the bus. All right, and then some people say this. Okay, so the Emancipation Proclamation proves that the Civil War was fought to free the slaves. Come on, right? No, it doesn't, right? Once again, the North did not start the Civil War to free the slaves. The South started it, and it wasn't about slavery. They gave them everything on slavery, and they still seceded. So it was something more than that. It was about political power, which meant economic destinies. All right, the Emancipation Proclamation, I'll just abbreviate EP from now on because that's a lot to write, was a strategic move, right? It wasn't, okay, so it wasn't much. It was just a wartime exigency strategic move, right? First, the Emancipation Proclamation was not an amendment, which is the only thing that could end slavery. An amendment to the Constitution. It was not. It wasn't even a law. Right? What power did this have outside of war? Nothing. So Lincoln wasn't king. He couldn't make law, right? It was only a proclamation. You know, it was Lincoln waving a magic wand saying, hey, presto changeo, all right? Hey, any of the slaves in the rebellious, you know, states, and it's like, well, you come up here and I'll make you free, right? All right. Well, could he make them free forever? Not when the war ends, right? Because the law has to be applied, right? So it was only a proclamation which had force only so long as the war lasted. Basically, Lincoln said to the South, hey, screw you. We're at war. Laws don't apply to you anymore. We're at war, right? So now, what was the law in the books? There were two fugitive slave laws, one in the Constitution and another to beef it up in 1850, part of the 1850 Compromise, right? Fugitive Slave Act, which required all runaway slaves, you know, if they run away to the North, be returned to the South. So what does that mean? if the war ended and only the Emancipation Proclamation's in effect and then the 13th Amendment wasn't passed, then all the slave, by law, right, when the war ends and the South rejoins the Union, right, by law, any slaves that ran away to the North during the war have to be returned by the North by law, right? So, after the war, the Emancipation Proclamation would have zero force and the law would have to be followed, which meant all runaway slaves would have to be returned to the South, right? Only an amendment to the Constitution could have prevented that. And that had to be passed before the end of the war, or it would never be passed because the South would be back in Congress, right? And they'd kill it, right? As it was, it barely passed by 2 votes with only northern states. I mean, they didn't want it them by themselves, right? But with the South, there's no way it's going to pass, right? If they come back, because they're all going to vote against it. All right. So the Emancipation Proclamation did not apply to northern. Oh, that's another thing, right? Right. So you say, oh yeah, this proved they're going to. Well, he didn't free all the slaves, right? Only the slaves in the rebel areas, like the states that seceded. The border states, which were slave states that stayed in the Union, oh, you get to keep your slaves, right? I mean, come on, it's not trying to end slavery. This is just a strategic move, right? Okay, that means all slaves in the Union will remain slaves. Okay, so any of our slaves are still slaves. Any of your slaves, they're free. That's what it said. All right. But they weren't really. They're free for the time being, only as long as the war lasted, unless they passed the 13th Amendment, right? I hope that makes sense, right? So the real purpose of the Emancipation Proclamation was a strategic move. I mean, come on, right? Lincoln was a smart guy. He knew that you steal slaves away from the southern slave plantation economy, you're going to kill their economy, right? And that's going to kill their war fighting ability, their war effort capacity, right? And then if you steal slaves from the South, well, you put them into the black regiments, right? Put them in the black units, let them fight, right? They'll probably be damn good because they're pissed off at the South, right? Right? That goes a long way. All right. Okay, so avoid losing loyalty to. Oh, yeah. So that's another thing. They didn't free the slaves in the border states. Why? They want to keep their loyalty. So these states here, Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Maryland, and Delaware, right? They're all slave states, right? Oh, you get to keep your slaves. You guys, your slaves are free, right? Hey, come on up here, right? Right, escape from your plantation or whatever. Okay, join our army, and but you guys are still slaves. Right? You're part of our union, but you're still slaves. Right? Okay, does that you see what he's doing? Right? I mean, come on. I mean, it's a smart move, but come on. All right, so this is Lincoln quoted by Goodwin. All right, Doris Goodwin. I don't know how good she is. I got some stuff for her. Right. My paramount objective in this struggle is to save the Union, and it is not either to save or destroy slavery. He's like, man, I don't care about slavery compared to saving the Union, right? That's secondary. First and foremost, we got to save the Union, right? What I do about slavery and the colored race, I do because it helps save the Union. First and foremost comes saving the Union, right? What he's doing here is a strategic move to save the Union. Come on. Where do people come up to this? You know, they how do they think? Oh, the Emancipation Proclamation proves the Civil War was fought to free the slaves. Oh yeah, God, there's like no hope for humanity here. Um, all right, John Brown proves the Civil War was fought to free the slaves. I mean, come on, right? So much is made of John Brown. He's blown way, way out of proportion. All right, John Brown was this pissed off guy who went through the bleeding Kansas stuff, right? And he's pissed off. What was that, Lawrence, Kansas, whatever that was, right? He's like, man, we gotta get some blood, some payback. Right? He's pissed off, right? So John Brown's blown way out of proportion. First of all, John Brown was a single person with only a small handful of followers. I think it was something like 36 max followers, right? Right? Okay, so he's got 36 followers. Man, that's a movement that's going to destroy slavery. God, right? All right, and then he had one big incident. It was at Harper's Ferry, where he took along 18 men. Right? Wow, that's huge. Him and 18 men. Right? That's nothing. And then John Brown and his 18 men had infinitesimal impact, operating only for 36 hours, right, in an attempt to, take Harper's Ferry, right? And they killed 5 guys. Then they're arrested right away, and they're tried. And I think they were hung. I got to go back and look. But yeah, I think they were hung, right? Wow. Wow. Huge impact, huh? Man, I mean, come on. Why is this blown way out of proportion? Did this rally people? Hell no, right? People are just thinking, oh, whatever, this guy's crazy, right? So, most of all, John Brown was not representative of the people of the North. He was a rare, isolated anomaly, right? So, what do historians do? They blow them out of proportion. What are they doing? They're trying to characterize all the people in the North by a guy who doesn't represent them. All the people in the North are not like John Brown. They're nothing like John Brown, right? So a sociologist would call this a gross violation of external validity, right? I mean, this is a methodological error of the highest order. That's the way people think, right? All right, so I'll get to right here. I'll get to a couple sources, right, who are experts on the Civil War. I mean, they're secondary sources, which I don't like trusting, but I didn't find original source stuff myself. What people said, I didn't dig, but so I take these guys. All right. So we'll go through what they said here. All right, they're looking out for themselves first and foremost. Right. So, okay, now another thing that people argue is, well, okay, while the North was not trying to free the slaves, right? We admit that. Okay, we'll admit that now. But the North was trying to prevent the expansion of slavery into the South, which was just as bad, right? Well, it's still not freeing the slaves, right? And expansion of slavery in the South had nothing to do with freeing the slaves. It was all about political power, right? One more slave state. All the congressmen, all the senators, whatever, right? All right. So first of all, prevention of expansion of slavery into the North is not elimination of slavery in the South. So they're not fighting to free the slaves, right? Therefore, this posed no threat to slavery in the South, other than potential future political power. For example, Oregon Constitution said this, right? Right. So Oregon gained its statehood in 1858, right before the war, right? About a little over a year, right? It says, all right, hey, we're not going to have slavery in our state, right? But you know what? We're not going to have black people. So you think no slavery in the state was to benefit black people? Hell no! It was to benefit them, right? I gave you reasons. Let's see. I'll go through reasons why. It was about jobs, right? You bring in slaves, well, you take away jobs. You bring in slaves, you drive down wages. You bring in slaves, well, who gets to gobble up all the land? The slave plantation owners, and it screws everyone else. No one else has access to land, right? It takes away their opportunity. You think people like that? You think people were not afraid that that's going to happen, right? And then you have the business leaders saying, man, this slavery is a bad system, man. It's just pauperizing. It's stultifying. Industrial development, manufacturing. Uh, all right. Okay. So I gave you examples of prejudice against. Okay. Oh, so here's some examples of prejudice against blacks. So there are 4 states. I don't know: Illinois, Indiana, Oregon. I forget whatever. Right. Iowa. Right. Right. They said no blacks allowed in our states. Right. They passed laws. Hey, no blacks come in our states. Oh yeah, they're gonna go down and free the slaves because and they don't want slaves in their state. Why would they do that? Right. All right. 6 northern states didn't allow blacks to vote. More than above, like 8 states at least, and more, passed black codes, just like the southern slave codes, right? Special laws against black people. I mean, come on, right? Even Lincoln was prejudiced. All right, Lincoln was. Okay, so I'll tell you what. From what I read, this is what I read. Right, I read that Lincoln did believe that slavery was morally wrong. All power to him. Right? Yeah, good, good. But you know what? He believed blacks were inferior. Right? He believed blacks should have no political power. How about that? He's like these guys up here. Blacks should vote. Right? He believed blacks should be sent back to Africa. Right? Whatever Liberia or Sierra Leone or Nigeria, one of those West African, countries, right? Send them back. I'm like, come on, right? All right. The congressmen and people of the North were more than willing to throw slaves under the bus. I told you that, right? They protected slavery. Passed it. All right. Now I know liars are going to attack and say, well, it was never ratified, right? Why do you think it wasn't ratified? It's because the damn war started, a month later, right? Fort Sumter happened just a month later. All right. So, and then they've said, hey, take New Mexico as a slave state, right? So this is protecting slavery, and that's expanding slavery. Right? They're not trying to end slavery. They're trying to prevent a war. They're not fighting a war to end slavery. They're dishing up slavery to prevent fighting war. They're doing the opposite. I mean, how can people not understand this? How can people say, "Oh, that's unreal"? This is a fact. This is what happened. Parents of soldiers pleaded with Lincoln to assure them that boys are not fighting to die to free slaves, but to preserve the Union. Right? We're not going to waste our sons' lives, right? Many Northerners preferred blacks in the South remain slaves. Many Northerners preferred blacks in the South remain slaves because once freed, they would likely migrate to the North and compete for jobs, housing, etc. Right? It's like the Irish. That was a fear of the Irish because they're coming in, immigrants, and they're looked down upon, right? They were prejudiced against, right? They're down. They've got the worst jobs, right? And they're fighting, scrapping for the worst jobs. You think they wanted blacks to come in and compete for their jobs? Hell no. And they rioted in New York City, I know. Right? When Lincoln said, okay, we need to get more people, so we're going to have a draft here, right? And they're like saying, hell no, I'm not going to go fight. I don't even want these guys freed, right? And that's after the Gettysburg Address and the Emancipation Proclamation, where it seems like it's about freedom, right? All right, they didn't want slavery in their state for the sake of blacks, but for their own self-interest. Jobs, wages, land opportunity, better economic, commercial economy. Right. So here's a quote by this guy. All right, Fred Weaver. Most Northerners had little interest in slaves' welfare or divine opinions. Like the Northeast religious people, like Quakers and whatever, Shakers and Bellyacres, right? Right. They weren't concerned about God, right? About slavery. Much more mundane reasons informed their opposition to the particular institution. Craftsmen and wage workers feared that they would not that they had to compete with slave labor. That's what I'm telling you. They're going to take jobs. They're going to drive down wages. The result would be a devastating decline in their earnings. No work or lower wages. Yeomen in the upper Midwest did not want to compete with slave holders for product markets and landed territories. Right. So if you're a farmer, right, and you got to pay laborers, you got to pay, right? You got a big operation, all right? You're trying to right? You're trying to compete with zero wages. They're gonna kill you, right? That's what he's saying. On the other hand, the northern industrialists uh, divide were divided on slavery, although the merchant community, especially in New York City, was strongly interested in avoiding any disruption of the lucrative cotton trade, thus pro-slavery. Right? I told you well, that's merchants too. So there were merchants and there were textile factory owners who were pro-slavery in the North. Right? A lot of people like who saw the big picture said, "Man, slavery's a bad system, right? Economically, apart from morality, right? You know." Um, but these guys are saying, "Man, we got a good thing going here. Don't disrupt it." So there's a lot of people who were pro-slavery. Come on, and who were against freeing the slaves. All right. I mean, let's get a little real here. People live in fairy tale myths. Why? Because they're pleasing. They feel good. They make you feel good about your country. You grew up believing them, right? You believe in Santa Claus, right? Since 5 years old, so you still believe in Santa Claus. I mean, come on. For most Republicans, opposition to bondage was limited to Well, this is another guy, Egnell, Mark Egnell, right? Opposition to bondage was limited to battling its extension into the West. Few Republicans advocated ending slavery. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, not many people said, hey, most people are like, oh, whatever, right? Only a small minority were pro abolitionists, except in the distant future. Party members roundly rejected abolitionist demand for immediate action. So, the Republicans are saying, don't listen to these guys, right? Moreover, most Republicans, like most Northerners, were racist and had little interest in expanding the rights of free blacks. I told you that. You can't come to our state. You can't vote. We got special laws against you. I mean, come on, right? Were racist and had little interest in expanding rights of free blacks. Indeed, many Republicans advocated free soil and the prohibition of immigration to the West of African Americans and free enslaved. That's what that's what the Oregon state constitution said. Hey, we'll be a free state, but hey, no blacks come here. Few Northerners, including those who became Republicans, had a deep concern of African Americans. That's what he says above, right? Most people didn't give a damn, right? Few believed blacks were equal to whites. They looked down upon them, right? Yeah, we're gonna go fight to free you, you know. Few favored abolition, except at some distant date in the future. Instead, their commitment was to the idea of a rapidly growing nation developed by free white farmers. That's what the ideal was. That's what the whole Western expansion program was, legislative program for the North, passed during the Civil War. Right? Let's get real here. All right. All the people said, "Oh, he thinks slavery was not the reason why he's unreal." I mean, come on. You're lost in some fairy tale fantasy reality, apart from the facts. Right? I know it's real because I learned it since I was 5 years old, and yeah, right. And everyone says so. That means it's real. It's also reality, the most screwed up reality there is. All right. The South. Okay, what do I say? Do I want to? Okay, I guess I want to say it. Second, the South gained every right to expand slavery in the North. You know, it wasn't like they're stopped. They won the Kansas-Nebraska Act. They won Dred Scott ruling right. Right. They could have slaves in the North. They're not being stopped. So this whole thing here. Well, they're preventing slaves in the North. Nothing's preventing them, right? By law. But the other law that's applying is state law, right? And that comes into states' rights, right? So these people did not want slavery there. Why? Because of their self-interest, right? So it came up into an established principle called popular sovereignty, established in the 1850 Compromise by Stephen Douglas, right? Right? That, hey, it's going to be up to the people. They're going to vote in a referendum, or it'll be up to the state legislators to vote, right? Who represent the people, but they're going to decide whether or not to have slavery in the state, right? Okay. Uh, so yeah, you can't force slavery down their throat when they don't want it. You're gonna get a big fight. And what you gonna try to start a war, right? You think the southern slave plantation owners, the 0.1%, are gonna get all the young white guys down there? Hey, right, go fight a war up there to force them to have slaves. They're gonna say, why the hell should I care about what up there, right? That's your thing. Why am I fighting for you? There's no way they could force that down the throats of the Northerners. All right. So what it was really about was political power. No, I got. Oh, yeah. So here's what it's really about. Here's what expansion of slavery or free states in the West was really about. It's about political power, right? Here's the situation, right? So these were the slave states, right? Now, the only territories that had a chance of going slave were uh, Oklahoma and New Mexico. But even Arizona was leaning towards free. And in fact, there was a Arizona Organic Act of I think it was 1863, which said that the future we're going to split New Mexico territory, Arizona and New Mexico. Right, we're pretty much where it is today. This will be slave if they want. This is going to be free though. Arizona will be free, right? And yeah, right. So here's the deal. Here is the slave state. At this point, there are 15 slave states, and there are 21 no 19 free states, right? So there's more free states now. That means 8 more senators, right? And then all this territory, including the what was this called? Was that called the Utah territory or Nevada territory? The Nevada territory, but it's Nevada and Utah, right? And a little bit of Colorado. They wanted to go free, right? So all these territories would go free, right? Which means the South is done politically. They're done. They have no hope, right? It's only going to get worse as more and more states get statehood. It's just going to shift the balance further against them. They see the writing on the wall. They see that it's going to get no better than this. And I told you, even at this point, the demographics were 1.8 times more people up here than down here, right? And it's only getting worse because there's more immigrants coming in. And I'm willing to bet, I don't know the actual data on this, but I'm willing to bet there were the people in the South who are heading to the West. Why? Because they have opportunity for land, right? So they're bleeding out the demographics here, going to the West. Now, who was the West aligned with politically? The North, right? So with immigrants, Southerners, exodus out of there. I don't know what to extent, but I'm sure there were some, right? Right? It's only going to get worse. Politically, they're done. They're done now, right? And in 1860, the Democratic Party split. They split into the Unionists. These states here, the border states, were slave states, right? But they were tied. West Virginia broke off here, and then Maryland and Delaware, right? They were tied economically to the North, right? That's where their fortunes were, right? So they're not leaving the North, or they're done. They're bankrupt. They're in a poorhouse, right? So even though they're slave states, they're saying, well, we're going to stick with the North, right? And okay, what the hell was I saying? All right. Well, anyways, they're done politically, right? All this area is going to go free, all right? The only chance is Oklahoma and New Mexico, and it turns out Arizona would go free, right? So it's only the actual New Mexico state territory. That's it. That's all you're adding, right? It's already bad. It's going to get worse. Right? Does that make sense? They're done. Now, if they know they're done politically, that means they're done as far as legislative power. And if they're done with legislative power, they're done economically. Because the North's going to pass the big tariff, the moral tariff, and that's going to benefit the Northern industrial infant industries, but it's going to kill the Southern cotton economy. And it has in the past, and it will again, and it did. All right. Okay, I don't know if I want to say all this. And move on here. Okay, Lincoln was elected. Oh, we did. We kind of covered this already. Lincoln was abolitionist, so he's not king. Okay. The political leaders in the southern states all seceded in a chorus, saying that, oh, it's because the North trying to free the slaves. Well, the North wasn't trying to free the slaves, right? Right. So, so now many people take this as evidence. Oh, you know the absolute proof? They say the absolute proof that the Civil War was fought to free the slaves is because when after the Democratic Party lost the 1860 election, right? They started seceding. Well, that had nothing to do with the fact that they lost the election and lost all legislative power. No, no, it's they started saying that the North is going to free the slaves, and that's proof that the Civil War was fought to free the slaves. I'm thinking, are you that retarded? I mean, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, can't you think? Do people lie? Do people have ulterior motives? Right? Um, Slavery isn't written in our Constitution. You know, how they're saying Lincoln's gonna. How's Lincoln gonna free it? Right? He can't do it. Right? And I don't want to go through the whole thing and the politics of it, how impossible it was. Right? But you know, why would they say that when there's no threat to free? And in addition to that, the North tries to cut the legs out from under their argument and say, "We'll guarantee you slavery forever, and we'll expand slavery with New Mexico," right? So they're trying to use racism and the fear. They're fear mongering, right? To whip up support. Why? Because they know they're done, right? They got their only hope is to check out of the union, or they're done economically. They're done financially, right? It's going to kill the Southern cotton economy, and what the hell was I saying? So they know their only hope is to get out. They got to check out, right? Now to check out of the union means war, right? Well, they're 0.1%. You think they're going to fight the war? Oh, hell no, right? They got to get all the white boys down there to fight the war from. So they whip up this thing. They're going to free the slaves, right? Now you look at the white people down there, right? In the antebellum South, right? They're dirt poor. They're not much better than the slaves, right? Right? They're dirt poor, but since Bacon's revolt way back in 1677, right? The the rich white elites have been using racism to manipulate the poor whites, right? Uh, Starting off with divide and conquer. You don't want the poor whites and the blacks to get together, create a threat against us of, overthrowing their slave owners, right? And then it was, you know, always keeping the blacks separated out from the poor whites, right? Using racism that even though the whites were just about as poor as the black slaves, well, they were superior in mind because they were because of the whiteness. They were led to believe that, and they were given privileges. They could attend public functions, right? They could vote and so forth, right? And they were meant to feel superior just because of the whiteness. Now, you free the slaves, that's crumbling. Their sense of value is going down. Not only that, their livelihoods are threatened, right? You free all the blacks, well, they're free to compete for their jobs, right? How are you going to keep them down? Oh, you got to pass some black codes and some unfair laws, and that's what they did in the South, right? And then so they're going to compete for jobs. It may take away. Oh, that means they're going to compete for your homes. That means they're going to compete for food on the table. Oh, hell no! They're going to fight, right? I tell you what, man. Here's an example, right? There were a number of lynching, big lynching of Asians, right? You know what? One of the rallying cries were, right? Hey, these Asians are taking the food out of my children's mouth, right? Why? Well, because they're working hard, right? And they're getting jobs because they're working hard. Why don't you work harder? Don't kill them. They're lynching them because, oh yeah, right? Oh, so they're taking away my opportunity because they're working hard. Well, I'm gonna kill them. It's craziness, right? You think people won't do that and feel justified, right? It's justified because I'm protecting my children. Man, why don't you just work harder? Don't kill a person who's working harder than you. All right. So you see how people twist things and justify things. All right. So, all right. Slavery was the basis of, man, I don't want to get into this. This is so stupid. Slavery was the basis of American capitalism, right? No, this is a this is about the difference between agrarian, primary product producing South in a pseudo colonial relationship with Great Britain versus a modern industrial manufacturing industries in the North, right? Totally different. That's just a stupid argument, right? People are sacrificing and good-hearted by nature and will gladly give their lives to do what's right. Oh, come on, they're looking out for themselves, right? I'm not going to get into that. All right, so let's go to a quick review here. So the Civil War was not fought to free the slaves because the North didn't even start the war to free the slaves, right? It didn't start the war at all. The South did, right? Now the Southern states seceded only after the 1860 election, when they lost control of House, Senate, President. Clean sweep. What did that mean? They lost political power. You think that was not the real reason why? There's no move to free the slaves, but this happened. I mean, hello, McFly, knock on your head. All right, is anyone home? The North posed no threat to end slavery because there was no bill in committee, let alone on the floor, right? And you needed an amendment to the Constitution, right? And even when they passed the 13th Amendment in January 31st of 1865, right? It passed by only 2 votes, and that's with Lincoln twisting arms and buying votes, right? It barely passed just among the northern states. You think they're going to pass this with the southern states before the war? Hell, they don't want to pass it themselves, right? With the southern states all voting against it, there's no way. What threat was there to it? Give me a break, right? The northern states barely voted to free the slaves with the South gone. All right, what do I say? Right? I don't know what I'm saying there. All right, and then when the southern states seceded and said, "Oh, the North's going to free the slaves. The North's going to free the slaves," they're like, "What? No one's trying to free the slaves. In fact, we'll guarantee your right to keep slaves forever. We'll pass the Corwin Amendment," and they passed it, right? And then they said, "We'll give you New Mexico, right? Well, here, take it." They're trying to appease them, all right? They're throwing slavery under the bus. They're not trying to free the slaves. They're trying to prevent a war, and they're going to throw slavery under the bus. They're not fighting a war. They're not fighting a war to free the slaves. They're sacrificing the slaves to prevent a war. It's the opposite. I mean, how do you not understand that? All right, because I learned in second grade that my knowledge from second grade is good knowledge. Shortly after the war started, Congress passed a resolution declaring that the war will not free the slaves. We did that already. War was about political power, which meant control over legislation, which meant control over the economic destinies, taxation, tariffs, right? All these things. Oh, man, this is further. Okay, a big part of it was the fight over northern versus southern power. And the South was always trying to block legislation which would increase northern power. They're trying to block legislation to improve transportation upon the Great Lakes. They're trying to block legislation for expansion of rail systems. They're trying to block legislation for a national bank and a national currency. All right, they're blocking all this stuff. And these are all the acts right? So what happened after the Civil War started, right? You know, if you think they're fighting to free the slaves, you would think they would just immediately jump on freeing the slaves. No, that came at the last hour, last minute. You had to get that done before the war ends, otherwise it's never going to get done, because the southern states will be back and they'll vote it down. Right? What they did jump on was their economic program. Right? This is the bank account they're worried about here. Um, so when the Civil War started, if the North really, uh, if the North was really fighting to free the slaves, they would have rushed. Yeah, they didn't pass it until, okay, I just said that, right, until the very last hour. So this is all the stuff they passed right away. Let's see. All right, I'm going to stop there. I think I did enough. All right, and if that's not enough, you know, again, this is just a primer, just focusing on that. And I want to teach you what the overall war was about. Right, and you got to get past this. Right, and I was thinking that by teaching you too much, this was getting lost. All right, because I could tell a lot of people like, oh, he's crazy, he's out of touch with reality. No, you're out of touch with reality, right? The only reality you're in touch with is, well, I won't say. Okay.